Well, welcome to my studio and another studio painting. And hopefully things go okay and we got something at the end of it that might be suitable. But who knows? It's mainly just to demonstrate an oil painting sketch, something I do for fun and also in preparation for larger paintings. So today I'm going to paint a landscape based on the sort of Eastern Cape landscape that I'm familiar with. And it's all about light and shapes and just something that can suggest maybe um, the sort of light-filled landscapes that you may be used to if you've been through this area. And as a bit of inspiration, I'm working from sort of photos I have taken. And what I do is take parts of these photos, generally crop a scene, and pick out things that attract my eye. So it's mostly things like light dark shapes, some working of light against dark, warm and cool color. So nothing too complicated, and let's have a go and see what happens. So let's have a look at the palette and I'll tell you what I'm using. Let's get that a bit closer so you can see what's going on. Okay, so what have we got? My usual sort of colors and titanium white, of course, some yellow ochre, burnt sienna, cerulean blue for a cool blue, ultramarine for a warm blue, and cadmium red light for a warm red. Then there's a bit of cadmium orange just for convenience and saving time. Alizarin crimson, which is very versatile, cold red, and cadmium yellow lemon, which is sort of my standard yellow that I use. You can warm it up with a bit of red as well if it's looking a bit cold. So when starting something like this, I might just get in a suggestion of shapes, and I'm working on a primed panel, just an MDF panel with a bit of gesso priming on it. It actually makes a very nice surface to work on. So just getting a bit of placement of the hills into the distance there, and then more or less my horizon line, and just loosening up the paint a bit with some white spirits. You can use a basic medium as well, mix in a bit of linseed oil, and now just getting an idea of composition, sort of my largest shapes, following the rule of thirds. This is very freestyle kind of landscape as well, and so nothing too serious. You can scrape off and change things a bit as well. And I kind of sort of look where I want my eye to follow the viewer's eye, basic composition things, lead the eye in, let the eye move through the landscape. Okay, so that's more or less a plan. Not sure how this looks on camera really, because with the lights it might be a bit lighter than it looks, but now when I get into making some dark with a bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine in there, the main dark shapes that sort of hold things together, quite important. Obviously light, I'm going to have light coming from right to left, so getting those shadow shapes. And the actual shadows that join other shapes together. Shadow in the foreground helps also to take the eye into the painting. Okay, I think we need to get into the sky, get those shapes in. And a warm sky, very straightforward, bit of yellow ochre, bit of white, maybe a little touch of cerulean to just cool it just a bit. And get in nice big brush. Well, I'm not sure, this is I think size 12. Just get straight in there, get something and just pull up space. Always go over this again. Maybe a little bit of red. And you can come back in and get in some thick impasto. Maybe what we need is a bit of palette knife and then just get a bit of thick paint working. A bit of blue. Cloud. But all my sort of main area is over here, so we'll put in the thicker paint in there. Just a bit of violet in there as well. Okay. So the mountain All the hills in the distance are simply going to be there to bracket the painting. So I'm using a bit of white, some cerulean, a little bit of yellow, or I should say orange, which makes a sort of a grey, cool blue. And so it's quite a receding color, but I can add some highlights, can warm it up. And keep in mind where the sun's coming from as well, so a little bit warmer towards the foothills as light features strongly. So everything is very cool, pushed back. And I'm always wiping the brush off with tissue paper just to keep that paint clean. Let's get that. There we go. And a little bit of warm in there. Oh, all those distant trees far away in the foothills. So a bit of orange, cerulean, a bit of ultra in there, which makes quite a strong green. You can knock it back a bit, add a bit of white, because we're dealing with atmospheric perspective here, so we don't want things to stand out too much. Even more, keep the edges softer as well. Yeah, I think that'll do. But I also need to start bringing some countryside. So it's warm in the distance, but not as warm as in the foreground. There's more blue. And less yellow, obviously, so I don't want too much yellow in there. So you could actually have a bit more pink. Very desaturated. Main thing is we just want to get in paint. Place it all. And as you get closer to the foreground, paint warms up a bit. You can just assess that and see if it's a bit too warm, too saturated. Throw in a little bit of the complement green, just put in a touch of red, and that just knocks it back. And obviously with yellow, you can bring in a little bit of violet or purple, and that also does the same sort of. So where I've got darks, I want strong light. So this will have thick, juicy paint. I need to get more white paint in there, so palette knife out, white paint in. I don't have much room here, so do a little bit of a cleanup. And let's start testing out a bit of juicy color in the foreground. That's what we're going to have. Okay, so and now those shape of the bushes and shrubs and a bit of color, some of the cool greens. Softer edges on the shadow sides. And more light and sort of middle values. It's coming this way, so that's on the right hand side. Okay. Let's get a bit more color in here. Just get rid of all this white panel. Of course, I could have actually the whole panel before I started. I want a bit more of a diagonal, so I'm going to insert into there. And in the foreground, a lot of cool cerulean, some alizarin, some white. Bring in a bit of green there to have a sort of desaturated, cool Once you've got everything blocked in, then you can start putting in more smaller shapes for a bit more detail, more information. But at this stage, keeping it very loose. All right, I think we're going to the distance again. Sort of suggestion of the trees and other things in the distance there. Some more white and alizarin. Alizarin is extremely versatile but also very powerful, so be careful with that. Okay, clean off brush. Small shapes, indistinct, light, dark, all pretty cool though in temperature. Overlapping shapes also suggest distance. I will be sure to do that. Overlap these cool greens. Now there's also nice sunny patches coming through here and there in between. Just to a whole tapestry of things going on. Mostly laying these things down at the side of my brush. Either size 4 or size 6, long flat brush. A variety of color, some violets as well. These touches of violet look good next to the yellows, complementary color. right in there. More white, yellow ochre. A bit of burnt sienna into the foreground as well. I just need to, but keeping it nice and cool. This landscape has quite a lot of red earth visible. I want to suggest that here and there. Much stronger color in the foreground too. Lay it on nice and thick. I think I need to develop these shapes a bit now. Get that shadow suggested with really grey violet. Few strong and cool shapes in the foreground. Keep cleaning the brush off too, tend to forget. Let's get some definition, a little bit more shape to these trees, yeah. Just suggesting some variety of shape, nothing too serious. Just break them up, try and make them interesting. warms and cools. So if I have a warm color, I'll try to put a cool color alongside it if possible. Well, I'm getting towards the end of the sketch, and I want to just bring in a few smaller shapes here and there, maybe break up a few of the larger ones. Bring a bit of light in some areas that might need it. A few lighter shapes. I think we need to suggest a few things in the distance. Maybe a farmhouse somewhere. A couple of strong passages of light. Break up a few. I think that's about it for a sketch like this. And also you can add in a few dark accents here and there. Not, not too hard. All right, I think that's it. I can just put this down to a nice warm-up sketch. Get on to something else in the day. And there we are. Sign it off. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the little sketch. It's always fun to do these, and you don't know how they're going to turn out. I'll put a picture of this painting if it hasn't come out clear enough on the video. And we'll try another one soon, and I'll let you know. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next one, just subscribe and you'll get notified